Now let's take a look at separator compile options. So you'll notice that when you hop from one section to the next, the pane on the right here changes. So when you pick separators, you get a different set of options. Now look closely. Text separator. You notice these little icons? Look, there's a folder, there's a file, and then we've got folder and file, and so on and so forth. Let's start at the top and work our way down. I'll explain it all to you, because this is where pagination, this is where formatting structure kicks in, and this, if you won't get this right, you won't generate a table of contents properly. So this is where you get to decide what separates between two documents. You see, there's a document, or there's a file, and there's a file. See, there's a file, there's a file. So what's going to happen between these two pieces when this thing compiles? And we're telling it that we just want to put an empty line between it. So between each one of these articles, there's just going to be an empty line. Okay, fair enough. Maybe what we want, maybe not what we want. Let's take a look. Single carriage return, empty line, or section break, or custom. Well, if you pick custom, you then get to type something in here. But section break, that's interesting. Now, if you pick section break, that's going to trigger pagination for table of contents. Okay? If you don't put section break between these two, you're just going to get one document made up of 20 pieces. I'll show you when we finish the compilation. I'll show you some examples so you would actually see. What I'll do after I've taken you through all the component parts is I'll show you a series of compiles. So I'm going to leave this one right now on single return, empty line, which is where it started. Folder separator. So what do you expect the system to do when you compile it when there's two folders, one after the other? See? This separator will be inserted between adjacent folders. We don't have any adjacent folders, so this isn't going to do a damn thing. We don't have any folders, so folder and text. See, if there was a folder before a text document, again, see, you can change the formatting. And here's a different way. What are you going to do after a document? Well, you can see here it says section break. That was the default. And if you had chosen not to use folders and documents and decided to use stacks of documents, you could say insert section break before text documents with sub. Remember that little icon? See it? It's a stack. This might sound a bit confusing, but basically, look at it this way. Right now, I've got one ebook that we're building, and it's going to have 20 chapters. If I want each of these documents that follow documents to be identified as an individual chapter, then I need to use this icon here, which just says folder, file after file. I need to switch it to section break. Section breaks are what triggers pagination, okay? At least it does in the ebook format. And because I'm not using folders, I don't need to think about any of this other stuff, and I'm not using subdocuments. If I went up here and I created a folder and I put 10 documents in one and a folder and 10 documents in the other, then I'd need to look at this closely and pick my text separators and folder separators appropriately. Okay? Yeah, you'll get the hang of it, believe me. It's not as complicated as it sounds. And like I said, I'll show you some examples with some of the compilations, perhaps elsewhere in the course. So that is how you set your separators.